Hello friends and lovers of astrology. After May and June, now in July, one big planet changes its sign. Let's remember that Neptune and Saturn are already in Aries, and now Uranus enters the sign of Gemini. Definitely everything around us and in us gets a new quality. And which quality and what kind of quality we will talk about in this video. At the 10th of July, it's a full moon in Capricorn, and on the 24th is the new moon in Leo. Then Saturn is until the 22nd in the sign of Cancer. Then it's in Leo. Mercury is in Leo all month. From the 18th is going to be retrograde. Venus is in Taurus until the 4th, then it's in Gemini. Mars is in Virgo. Jupiter is in the sign of Crab, that's Cancer. Saturn is in Aries. From the 13th it's already retrograde. And Uranus until the 7th is in Taurus and then is in Gemini. And then Neptune in Aries from the 5th also retrograde. And then Pluto is already retrograde in Aquarius. So as you see, we have big planets retrograde now, and also Mercury is going to be retrograde. So we are going back, or we are repeating something that we did in the past because we didn't finish it. At the beginning of July, Venus and Uranus meet in conjunction at the last degrees of Taurus. Also, Venus enters Gemini and Neptune starts to be retrograde. Further, on July the 6th, Venus makes a sextile with planet Saturn and Neptune that are in Aries. And on the 7th, Venus makes a trine with Pluto that is in Aquarius. So on the 7th of July, Uranus enters Gemini, and we see that Uranus and Venus are together in the Gemini sign, which is very interesting from the astrological point of view, but I will not speak about those details. I know that many of you actually don't know astrology, so details we will leave for some other time. It's quite good that Venus is here organizer of the game, because that can lead to the harmonious relationship. Everything can look like a little bit easier than until now, maybe even nicer. Old topics will be resolved now in a new way. There is more change of opinions now than it was before. There is some more flexible energy coming. And all of this is the characteristic of the air sign of Gemini. And we can assume that everything will be a little bit easier than it was before. So at the beginning of the month, in the individual lives, there can be some pleasant surprises, and we can all breathe a little bit lighter. It can be a good period for exchanging of ideas, maybe for some romantic encounters, for presentation of artistic creations, or just to communicate more with others. This can be like some sort of like a pattern that we will all somehow feel, but mostly will feel Taurus people who have planets on the last degrees of Taurus, and people who have planets at the beginning of the Gemini sign. The entry of Uranus into the Gemini on July the 7th is extremely significant. It is extremely significant event that will bring big shifts in the world. Over the next 7 years, it will bring some renewal and potentially revolution in science, thought, education, research, commerce, communication, and transportation, to mention just a few areas. It will also affect people's way of thinking, people's way of expression, exchange of information and knowledge, satellite or some other modern communication or programs. It will also influence all kinds of connection between people. However, Uranus returns to Taurus again in November. So we have this transit only for a few months, from July until November. Uranus will be in Gemini and will give a weak hint of something new that we will definitely feel only after April 2026. After it enters Gemini in April 2026, Uranus will stay there until 2033. I will make special videos about this transit because it definitely deserves our attention. It will be on YouTube, and you can also compare that videos when they come with my videos about Uranus in Taurus. I have 3 videos of Uranus in Taurus in English, and if you compare that with that what will come about Gemini, you will see that it's completely different topics that is opening, but it's still about Uranus, you know. Just simply Uranus in Taurus is very, very harsh, and Uranus in Gemini is about something much lighter, and it's potentially excellent for all of us. With the transition of Uranus into the sign of Gemini, the fight for territories should stop. I think by April next year, the robbery of territories and resources that are on Earth and under the Earth maybe can slowly stop. It looks like that. Some sort of new division of territories actually was made in previous years. I would say maybe in the time when there were eclipses on the Scorpio Taurus axis. 2022 maybe could be important year for definite this divination of territories, but somebody doesn't like it. That's why we have these fights and wars still. I just want you to know that Uranus in Gemini does not mean the end of conflicts. Let's remember that Gemini was transiting from the sign of Taurus to the sign of Gemini. Uranus was transiting in the years 1941, 42 and 43, when we had the Second World War. In the 1943, it was already really clear that the plan to conquer Russia and the world would fail. And something similar will happen now, especially in 2026. Although Uranus is in a wider square with Mars during its entry into the sign of Gemini, it still has, which is conflict situation, it still has trines with big planets. These are Neptune and Pluto. And I spoke even with Saturn. So I spoke about these big trines in my video, A Turning Point in Globalistic Politics. So I will not repeat all of that here. If you're interested in that, please watch that video. Let's remember that while the Second World War was raging, Pluto was in the first degrees of Leo. And now, while this current world war is raging, Pluto transits through the sign of Aquarius and reaches opposition in relation to its position in which it was in the Second World War. Therefore, we can say easily that the same war is still going on, even it's reaching its peak now. And it can be that the present outcome is likely to be definite. You know, there can be certain corrections later on when Pluto makes a square to its position where it was in Leo in the Second World War. But now this can be actually the critical point which will actually say this is the top of the trouble, you know. And of course that we live in a fascism, neo-fascism now still, as it was during the Second World War. Uranus in Gemini is in a very strong position, as we said, and can give some excellent results. It will be very important for Gemini themselves, also to Libra and Aquarius, so for the air signs. This will be a fantastic time. Great opportunities are coming. But it's interesting that Uranus in Gemini will make sextiles to the fire signs, Aries, Leo and Sagittarius, which is also fantastic. Unfortunately, this year, this will not be felt by many, maybe only by people who have planets around first degrees of those mentioned signs. But from the spring next year on, the first decade of the air or fire signs will definitely be in contact with Uranus. With Uranus in Gemini and Pluto in Aquarius, we have two planets in the air signs that significantly influence the collective consciousness. They will form a trine several times until 2028. And this is something that is coming now with this air sign, that will bring some sort of flexibility, influence our thinking, our communication, as we were saying. And even it's important that Neptune makes sextiles to those big planets, as we said. And this is one of the most optimistic combination that we can now find in the world to predict positive development of the events of the world during the coming years. So it seems that we will not destroy ourselves if we see all of those positive aspects between big planets. Then the full moon is in Capricorn on July the 10th. Those who gain wisdom through everyday experience, who are not afraid of responsibilities, who accept their obligations, they will be happy with this full moon because maybe they will reach some success, or maybe they will change the status for better, so they can be very happy and congratulate themselves. Those people who are still not in contact with their shadow side, speaking by using the words of Jungian psychology, or those who are want everything to be easy for them, they will maybe have troubles with this full moon because they have to think what to do now and how to do it, because they didn't fulfill all of the obligations before, for example. July prepares another significant celestial event that will happen exactly at the beginning of August. That's why I will mention it here now. This is the conjunction of Saturn and Neptune in Aries. This is one of that great conjunctions. And if this happens in 1 year, this year is always extremely important for all. So this conjunction marks the beginning of another chapter in the current historical turning point. In June, I recorded a special video on this topic. The name of the video is Saturn and Neptune Conjunction, from mysticism to the digital world. If you're interested in this topic, watch the video. You will easily find it on the internet. I'm not going to repeat now everything that I said there in that video, but I will remind you that this combination the last time appeared in 1989, when the Berlin Wall fell and the Soviet Union was disintegrated, and the power of the world was for some period of time transferred to the West. I further remind you that this combination that changes the social, political, and spiritual paradigm in the world. In this combination now, I want to say we will not have the same situation as in the previous century. There are going to be similar patterns, but it will be quite different. Why? Because we now live in a digital world, in some new technological era, and we are in very big danger to start living through the cloud, or let's say to start living through some virtual technical projection. So things cannot be the same because the new technology will be involved in this, but similar patterns will in a way appear. And now when we add to that we have Saturn and Neptune conjunction coming in Aries, and we have Uranus in Gemini, there is a great turmoil and hope for renewal, of course, but of course some disappointments might be. Somebody will be disappointed, and somebody will believe that the future is here. So now we will see who will have what. Definitely some new archetype on the collective level will appear with this combination, which we will see, but it is already preparing on a micro level. Everything is happening very slowly now. It is coming very slowly, this new archetype, but from the 2026, from the spring, can be more visible. It's important here that the Slavic people now are getting starting to be more important. Uranus in Gemini will be very important for Russians and for Serbs, as it was always in history, while the Neptune and Saturn combination will be very important for Russia. And I mentioned some of those things in the video that I recommended to you about the conjunction of Saturn and Neptune. So it is definitely clear that Slavic people will also now, like at the end of the Second World War, have a very important role in the world, and also all of the people who are gathering around them. You definitely know who won the Second World War. It will be something similar now, nothing else can be. So Saturn and Neptune have been retrograde since July. So this conjunction will be with retrograde planets. That's why it's now weak, but it will repeat next year, and we will see then after that definite results. Unfortunately, we still have struggles and fights in the world, and everything seems to go very slow, as we said, and many will say, oh, I cannot wait anymore to see that new world. You know, first of all, don't expect an extremely nice new world. We will see what can be. You know, with this new technology can be whatever. We will not destroy ourselves, it seems like that, but many things can happen with this artificial intelligence. In the area of economics, politics, social era, or whatever. You know, nothing happens now spontaneously. We are ruled by in this artificial intelligence already. That's why everything is so hard and it's so slow, and nothing is natural anymore. We don't have the atmosphere. We have technosphere. Somebody wants to change the climate, and he does it, you know, and he gives us whatever. Another reason why everything goes so slow is that actually all of the leaders of the world are bought. Like, it's not only that Europeans and Americans work for the so-called elite, but also Palestinian, Iranian, Russian politicians. They bought everybody that they could buy, you know. So this is also the big problem of our time. I was recently speaking in my interview in Czech language for some YouTube channel about that, how I learned that these crazy creators of the new technocratic society and digital fascism promised to so-called elite that they created in every country, that this elite will have a special condition in the future time. They will have normal food, they will have modern medical care, maybe they will have the eternal life also, and they will be that elite that will rule those who have, you know what, these masses have all of this and getting more and more of this. They live in the 15-minute cities, they're solving ridiculous problems with CO2 and doing these completely perverse things because they think that by doing them they protect nature. And I also heard that in every country, actually they prepare new facilities for the so-called elite, buildings and so, where they would live and where from they would lead others, you know, and this kind of stuff. So maybe you would ask, oh, where does this elitism come from? Well, it was always there in this world, but there is a trouble now. Because actually the elite, the so-called elite, those who are on the top of the world, they always have some contractors who were doing job for them. And that were Zionists, Freemasons, colonizers, and many others. But they don't need them anymore. You know, the structures in the world changes now, and on the top the structure changes. And the trouble is that these previous contractors who were doing the job for elite, they do not understand that they are not needed anymore. And now actually when these huge things are happening, there is a space to create something new. And this space now is neither in heaven, not on earth. Now this is this very, very strange time where we live in, when the old contractors are no longer needed in this society, in this world, when technocratic China does not have to be the only example and solution. So there is a chance for other nations and regions to create something completely different. And this is what is happening. And this is what is now actually making this huge conflicts and this circus actually we live in. I want to remind you that in my video for the November 2023, I mentioned that Israel will not exist anymore according to the eclipse that happened in October 2023 in Libra, and it was exactly on the ascendant of Israel. And you see what is happening now. Check my old video, November 2023, eventually October 2023, to see that. So these are those that are not needed anymore and they don't understand it. But let's go back more to July. The Sun enters Leo on July the 22nd. And at the same time, Venus is in Gemini, Mars in Virgo, so they make a square. And on the 24th is the new moon in Leo that makes the opposition with Pluto that is in Aquarius. And also this new moon has trine with Saturn and Neptune and sextile with Uranus. You see, something is positive, something we can say negative. The exact opposition of the Sun and Pluto occurs on July 25th. So this new moon is happening at the 2nd degree of Leo and potentially is creating a bright optimistic pattern for the next 6 months, but the opposition to Pluto speaks of some sort of a danger. Who is at risk, you would ask? Well, I would say rather rulers of the world, so-called rulers, than us ordinary people. Leo is the ruler, Aquarius is the masses, people. The question will raise during the next 6 months, who actually manages this world? Because I guess it can be that people see that these who lead like the world, like some leaders that are totally crazy. Even now it looks so, but it can be even more, you know. And there can be also some reversal with this Uranus in Gemini, who is the ruler of Pluto. And many people would be very surprised with that, what is really happening in the world. Let me mention that in the time of American presidential elections in November, there was opposition between Mars and Pluto at the same degrees where we have now new moon in Leo with these oppositions that are now going to appear. And I guess that this new moon symbolizes big troubles, the time of big troubles for Donald Trump, maybe for next 6 months or maybe even longer. Certainly next 6 months can be a good time to take a big step forward, to finish some projects. And that can be on a collective or on a personal level, you know. For those who are brave enough, this is very important time to do something completely different. And this new moon will affect mainly people who have planets in Leo and in Aquarius on the 1st degrees. And I wish them luck in the next 6 months. The changes are happening in the world more and more, and you will see that not just the world, but we also ourselves individually, we will more and more start solving completely different things than we did before. We will have completely new ideas about ourselves and what to do next. And this is good thing, you know, to think of your own plans while Sun is in Leo. Because when Sun is in Leo, we are reminded of that archetype of the self, which we write with the big S, that Jung speaks about. This is, Sun in Leo is the symbol of the total self-mastering and maximum of self-awareness. So it's good to work on oneself. And Jupiter in Cancer helps in this, you know, in dealing with inner or let's say spiritual subjects. And about Jupiter in Cancer, I also recorded a special video. The name of this video is Jupiter in Cancer, Divine Mother. If you're interested in that, what will bring you Jupiter in this 1-year transit, which is very promising. It will be later a little bit better than now. Now Jupiter has squares with Saturn, but from July, August on, it will be better and better. And it can give some positive new patterns to all of us. but depends on us what we will create. But is this true that we may feel or we may not feel Jupiter? Because, you know, if Jupiter is in a good position, we can be even lazy, not doing anything, just enjoying ourselves. And later saying, oh, nothing happened. Well, not that nothing happened. You felt good. You had Jupiter in some important position in your horoscope. But it's interesting what Saturn is doing, you know, because Saturn is now in Aries together with Neptune and will stay there for the next 3 years, 2.5 or 3 years, something like that. And he balances Jupiter. So Saturn is giving us hard lessons. This is our toughest teacher. Where Saturn transits, some our old topics, let's say karmic topics, appear that we need to solve. And Saturn is checking how mature we are, how responsible we are, how balanced we are, how much we know ourselves. And because his tasks are sometimes very hard, then Jupiter balances. He gives us a hug and say, oh, everything will be fine. But Saturn does the main job, you know. So concentrate on that area of your life where you have Saturn in the next 2 or 3 years, because there some major things will happen. Of course, it's very good that Saturn is now traveling with Neptune, and it will be a little bit easier for us to integrate its lessons, but we will be a bit more confused. So now both of these planets are already retrograde. So we've had a glimpse of something, and we will wait for the next year to learn more about Neptune and Saturn in the Aries sign. And that is all for now. If you wish, you can arrange with me personal consultations based on astropsychology, spiritual astrology, or based on the technique that I use. The name of this technique is the change of the code, the change of the perception, where we work with our inner patterns. Change them, and then, you know, we see ourselves and our life completely different. If you like this video, sign up for my channel and share it, and thank you very much for that in advance. And I wish everyone luck in July and readiness for the mental revolution that will arise with Uranus and Gemini and all other combinations actually also. So see you soon.